Good day, everybody, and welcome back to Lifin Talk. I am so excited to have my collaborator and one of my mentors here with me for this talk, Dr. Rose White. Dr. White, welcome to the segment of Lifin Talk.
Thank you so much, Liz, for having me. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. So, if you would, will you take just a minute or two and tell us a little bit about yourself and what services you have and how the viewers may be able to find you.
Well, I am Dr. Rose White of Elevate Pathways Coaching and Consulting. You're able to find me on my website, which is www.elevatepathwayscoaching.com. I also have a YouTube channel right here at Elevate Pathways. And the services that we provide is through life coaching as well as business consulting and financial strategies to help individuals, and especially for women that are looking at starting over or advancing in their business. This for new startups, also for faith leaders, those that are looking at advancing your ministry, restructuring, even with making some new changes or decisions. And so that's a portion of what we do, but more is there, can be found on our website. Thank you, Liz.
Oh, you're so welcome. And trust me, she does so much more. So thank you for everything that you do. And thank
Thank
you
you.
for just being so inspirational to me, Dr. Rose. She's a mentor as well. And I tell you what, you need to look her up and do a clarity call with her because she is an amazing master coach.
Thank
So
you.
I want to start off with this topic that I think it's for now in everything that we're dealing with in life, and that is recharging your life. So protecting your energy in a positive way, and in the world that what was that? So really what we're going to discuss about today is pretty powerful, I think. It's about recharging your life and protecting your energy in a positive way in this negative world that we're in. Because there's so much happening around us in the world, globally, at home, in our communities. And so it is about protecting our energy because after all, energy is what we are energy. We thrive on energy, and so it's just an integral part of our life. So we have to look at what's feeding us, what's draining us, and also when we are drained, how do we charge our battery in a positive way? And so, Dr. Rose, you can look at maybe, I'm a very visual person. So it's like, your car and you're driving down the highway and all of a sudden you see that battery light coming on and you have to go over and park on the median to make sure, check it out.
Yeah.
So you park, and all of a sudden, you try to turn on your car, and it's totally gone. And so when you get it towed and you take it to a gas station or the dealership, they find that your battery is drained, and so they have to either do one or two things: charge it, or you got to get a new one. So charging, when they take those cables, those jumper cables, they're connecting the right and the left, positive and negative charge, right?
Right.
Because what would happen if they connected it to the same one?
Yeah, that's
Does your
right.
car, would your car start?
Nope, it will not. It
Right.
most definitely will not.
So much along the lines of, we got to think about what is charging our battery and what is, depleting it.
Mm.
And what does it mean to recharge our life? Have we really taken a good look in our own personal life to protect our energy, to protect our peace? So this
Mm.
is what we're here to talk about. And so, Dr. Rose, as a life coach, what does it mean to you about recharging? You know, what does recharging your life truly mean to you?
I would say it means for me taking back my focus, taking back my purpose, taking back my energy. When it comes to taking that back, recharging your life, it's not just about rest. I believe it's about a restoration.
Yes.
Because when we think about rest, rest helps our bodies to slow down. When we're looking at restoration, that helps your entire being to recover. And so when we're looking at a recharge, that's where you take a pause before you break. You literally have to step back before you get burned out, and refilling whatever it is in your life that has become drained. And then once you have gotten that refill, as Liz was saying, with refilling the tank, now you can reconnect. Now the car can continue on its destiny, continue on to where it was going. Now you can reconnect with your purpose once you have become refilled. But it was is important though that you release what is no longer serving you. You've got to reset. And so areas of our life a lot of times that feels drained, we got to think it's our mind. Our mind is
Yes.
overwhelmed, our emotions get drained, our body, our faith, sometimes even our relationships,
Yes.
it can become drained. And so we got to keep going because a lot of times we think, oh, if we stop, well, I'm just weak. But stopping is recharging. That to me is wisdom. Even, if a phone can't keep working, we think about, we all use a cell phone, but that phone is going to eventually stop working if I don't charge it up. And so we are like that phone. We got to be charged so that we can keep on working.
Yes, and it's important to point out that, there's two different types of depletion of energy. You've got your mental,
Yeah.
and then you got your physical.
Yeah.
Okay. And sometimes one can take more of a back seat than the
Yeah.
other, but
Yeah.
they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So we have to renourish our body. We have to do self-care, because that really is where that comes into replenishing our energy. And the truth of the matter is that our bodies will give us signs.
Yes, it will.
So we
Yes, it
need to
will.
pay attention to what is negative and positive, what's going on with our energy. And
Yeah.
sometimes our environment can be
Yes.
energy zappers too.
Yes.
Okay. And
Yes.
also, I have to include that other one. People can
Yes.
be major energy zappers, because you and your good heart trying to help, because we're solutions driven. All
Yes.
right. And we have to get to a place where we have to have those boundaries that we set up,
That's right.
because some people just want to pour out their problems and their negativity, and you can give good advice, but it's hitting the repeat button
Yes.
again and again. And
Yes.
so that is a major energy zapper. So we
Absolutely.
have to be really mindful about that and be intentional of guarding our space.
That's
Okay.
right.
Both mental, the physical space, our home is our sanctuary.
That's
And
right.
then, having this discussion between the positive and negative energy, what would you say is strategies, Dr. Rose, that people can look for to recharge in a different way? Because maybe what they're doing is not working anymore. And you know what? That sometimes you have to leave the past in the past, and maybe what worked for you in the past doesn't work for you where you are in the present or in the future.
That's right.
So what would be some strategies that maybe you could suggest for those that are going through exactly in the feeling and in the headspace that we are talking about? And oftentimes you hear, man, I feel drained or I feel zapped. I don't have any more energy. So, how can people recharge differently? Because we have to look at these things. It's important to find um, some best practices that work for us. And maybe what works for somebody doesn't work for somebody else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thinking about positive and negative, one of the things that I teach is about guarding gates.
Mm.
And our ears is a gateway, as well as our eyes are a gateway. And so we've got to guard. You talked about, sometimes people, things, circumstance, situations that are constantly negative. It will totally make anything that we had positive null and void. And so, my recommendations, my suggestions, things of which I've shared over the years, because lots of things in life can be negative. Just
Yes.
waking up, going outside, we see stuff negative. You turn on the TV, internet, Facebook, you see a lot of negative things. And so, in order to counteract, I would always say, negative does not always come from bad people. Sometimes it can come from just unhealthy conversations. So if you're in the midst of where the conversations are not building you up or bringing about encouragement or helping you to go in a positive direction, you need to pull back from that. You need to turn away. Sometimes, if you're working on a job and you go in a break room and everything that you hear is something negative all the time, perhaps that might be a sign you need to go into another area, go take breaks somewhere else, because the conversations in there is not healthy. You talked about complaining. There are some people that are chronic complainers. They can never see that glass half full. It's going to always be half empty. Matter of fact, in their case, it's going to always be empty. And so they're just constant. It's what they do. You've got to learn how sometimes to hear and don't hear. But then there are some people that have what I call fear-based thinking. They can never see where everything is going to turn out good. They look at everything, well, there could be a problem with that. You might not be able to accomplish that. Other things that can be negative that we need to turn into positive, and that's old things from our past, and learn how to take those things that were old and turn that test or that pain, into a process, turn that into a testimony, turn that into something that is good. Another thing that I think about that can help turn negative into positive is learn how to know that it's okay to say no. You don't, sometimes we overcommit, and that can bring about negative energy, because now you are overindulging in things and now you become overwhelmed. So just know that the positive is, in some cases, just saying no.
Right.
Environments that are toxic, don't go into that environment. Stay out of that environment. If people look at you cross-eyed, they look at you a little funny, say something, negative, it's okay. But you stay out of that is going to drain you and cause you everything around you negative. You want everything positive, and you create your own energy. You create your own atmosphere. And so those, anything that's going, that you see that's draining you, step away from, come out of, leave that totally alone. If where you go into and you all you feel is a heaviness, You lose your focus, you become, you all of a sudden you got anxiety going on, you're feeling guilty about something. That's a clear sign. Okay, this is a negative environment. This is not a positive vibe. It's time for me to take a detour. I'm going in another direction. And then it's all about mindset. It's all about how you see things. I make a qualified decision that I'm going to see things in a positive rather than a negative. So stop, don't feel like you've got to always be a part of. Some things you need to separate yourself from.
Yes, and well said, Dr. Rose. I think that one more thing I would add, and that's huge because maybe you don't know who you are
Yeah.
and the treasure within you. And you haven't built your confidence. So
Yeah.
you think that you need to compare yourself
Yeah.
or imitate
Mm,
somebody else. And so a lot of times, doing that takes a lot of energy.
yeah. Yeah.
And so at some point, you're living in a facade.
Yeah.
You're living in a world that you're trying to create that's imitating, um, a person, and it may be somebody that you know or somebody that you think because you've seen them on social media,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you get to the end of maybe a series of things. It could be that you're just exhausted resources to try to
Yeah.
buy name brand things, a car, and so forth and so on, and you just can't do it anymore,
Right.
and you're just done.
Yeah.
So it's very valid in the world that we're in, to find that people want to be somebody else and they don't want to be who they are because they
That's
don't
right.
know. And so you have to look at, um, who am I? Ask
Yeah.
those questions. Who do I want to be?
Mm,
And so in search of will also make it very, it's not simple, but it will break it down. And you know what? There is a saying, and it's so true. It may sound cliche, Dr. Rose, but
yeah.
there's so much beauty and simplicity.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
so that is something that we all have to take a look at ourselves, because at one time or the other, um, high school or
Yeah.
college, or in young in the career, you want to rise up, the career path, and you kind of get to a point where none of that is important. What really is important is being and getting to the point of finding your authentic you.
Yeah.
And so in doing that, there's an internal battle,
Yeah.
a push and a pull that goes along with, energy depletion. And so, it's very real. People struggle with that in
Yeah.
many different forms. So, Dr. Rose, what would you say, is ways that you see that in the clients that you're coaching or have coached? What are some examples of that?
I wanna go back a minute to something that you talked about, authentic self. And I thought about the importance of being true to your own self. Be true to thine own self, because you can only be the best of you. When we try to imitate somebody else, you'd be surprised. The person that we're trying to imitate might be really trying to imitate you. They want to be like you.
Very
And
true.
and so I would say that internal battles is, it's where we're fighting.
Mm,
It's a fight between who we were, who we are, and who we are becoming. And so when talking with clients, even in the past and looking at those of even now. You know, we many are dealing with many types of battles. There are lots of battles. You know, we got battles between fear and faith.
Yes.
You know, we've got battles of between peace and dealing with a whole lot of pressure. There are battles between purpose and procrastinating. You know, and I have a real serious, that's one of my pet peeves, is procrastination. You know, but there's also battles that many that I have talked with, dealt with, and even my own self experience is dealing with confidence and self doubt. There's a battle, and that is one of the components of my coaching series, and that is to help people help to build confidence, because sometimes we won't launch out into the deep and do anything new because our confidence is not there. We're always doubting ourselves, our capabilities. You know, healing and hiding. There's so many different battles. And so sometimes, you know, we can even say, I'm confused, but what we're really saying is, I'm just afraid. You know, I'm afraid. I'm afraid to choose. And so my thought is always in helping. Again, Liz, is like you talk about. We have to become great at asking questions. You know, and helping people instead of them. We counteract like what we did in business. You know, when I
Yes.
used to do a lot of business, when people say, "Well, what if I fail?" We have to counteract that question. Well, what if you succeed? You know, you know, they said, well, what if the people leave? And we have to literally ask themselves, well, what if they stay? You know, what if I'm too old? And the thing is, what if you're at the right time, at the right stage, right place? What if I miss my time? You know, what if you're on time? So we cannot recharge our lives while constantly rehearsing what broke us. And those are the things in which I share with clients, you know, looking at what is fighting against the individual, what's fighting against your peace. You know, that is where we have to think about when it comes to those internal battles, because those battles will disrupt your peace. And so finding out what is that? What do you keep rehearsing? What is it that you keep saying over and over and over again? Because that internal battle has to be named. You got to call it out. You got to face it for what it is. Because what you refuse to name, you'll keep on carrying it. And so the moment you name it, then you can begin to confront it. Now you can heal from it. Now you can move on. You can move forward.
And I think too that I want to add, sometimes the internal battle that goes on within someone, Dr. Rose, is trying to fit into somebody else's world.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it could be trying to conform, because it's a spouse, or maybe you have children that you're trying to connect with, or trying to fit in some type of circle.
Yeah.
And that causes disruption as well. So how do we go and try to find some best practices or strategies to gain more peace and gain positivity, in this chaos that we may be in, relationally, um, and where do we go from that point, if if you're dealing with, um, a relational issue.
Mm. Oh my goodness. Well, when it comes to relationships, again, you have to make sure that this is what it is. That is an issue. Know that that's what it is. And if in a relationship there's no peace in that relationship, now you've got to make a decision. Do you stay within the boundaries of that relationship, or do you let it go?
Yes.
And my thing is, when I find that I'm in something that, again, everything for me is relating to my peace, because that's dealing with my mind. And so, therefore, if I'm in a relationship that is a bit toxic or it's not in a good manner, then, I have to make a decision that may be a little bit contrary to popular belief. But there comes a time when I have to make a decision to release myself from that, let it go, keeping the right attitude in the midst of it, keeping my heart pure, but recognizing that this is something that it has been a battle on the inside, and I've got to address exactly what is happening and then let it go. And if when it comes to relationships, I'm an early morning person. And so, I get up early in the morning and I tend to look at things as my time of prayer, it's my time of meditation. It's my time of assessing everything before the busyness of the day really gets started. And again, a lot of that, when it comes to relationships, I have to realize there are some things that I have to break myself free so that my entire day will be productive, and it will be a good day rather than a bad day. And relationships can be not only in the home, it could be a relationship on your job, in your business, in anything that you're part of, whatever that relationship might be. If it's causing you an inner conflict, then you need to assess that and find out what's going on and get the solution to that.
And I would say too, that's where examination comes in,
Yeah.
because there's many forms of relationships.
Yes.
And so you have to examine what your negotiables are and what
Yes.
non-negotiables are.
That's right.
And as Dr. Rose said, sometimes we have to take the higher route
Yeah.
of letting go and looking at a person to understand, not to understand everything,
Yeah.
but we have control only on how we deal with situations.
Yeah.
We have the choice. And so that's how positive habits start forming,
Yeah.
that understanding more about the relationships that we have in our life, and understanding more about how you contribute in those particular relationships, whatever type of relationship it is. And I think that, we have to shift to a place of survival to thriving. And so,
Mm.
Dr. Rose, what would you say, um, maybe a couple of ways, methods that one can start shifting into that positivity, because it is about examining the situation at the moment, okay, because we have to take it one by one.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
our brain works better,
Yeah.
taking one thing at a time. We may have a lot in our mind and it drives us crazy,
Mm.
but we have to try to find some kind of order in the chaos and turn chaos into practical steps and making a decision towards positive reactions and positive outcomes.
Mm. Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it may be that sometimes getting to that point, there's steps in between. Okay.
Right.
That may
Right.
not be so positive. We
Yeah.
understand that, and it's a valid point. And we're not discrediting anything by any stretch of the imagination. But how do we get to a place? Because there is a place called there.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. It certainly is. And right now, this is where people are right now,
Yes.
from, survival to thriving. And, for someone that may be wondering, just what is that? That survival mode is when your mind and your body feel like you're always on alert. You may feel tired, but you can't sleep, you can't rest. Anybody ever been there? You're busy, but that's all it is. You're not productive, just busy. We get emotional, but we can't explain why. You ever been at a place where you start crying, you don't even know why you're crying. We get fearful about the future. We're easily irritated. We're stuck in what if.
Stressed out.
Stressed out totally. And so survival mode says, I just need to get through this. But
Right.
thriving says, I'm learning how to live with wisdom and direction in it.
Yes.
And so, we think about that thriving, you want to be able to have clear thinking. You're able to make those better choices. So I would say that positivity is not ignoring problems. You see, positivity is when you are choosing the most life-giving response while you are looking at that issue head on. You're facing the problem. And so, in order to shift into positivity, I would always say, again, everything, don't move too quickly. Learn how to take a pause. Learn how to have to breathe. And one of the things I love about Liz is, her affirmations and her shorts that she give. She talks about that, and when you listen to her, it makes you have to breathe, inhale, exhale. Name what is actually happening, and then separate what's real from what's not, the fact from the fear. Ask yourself, what is it that you can control, and then you choose the next right step for you. But then
Yes.
lastly, examine. We Liz talks a lot about assessing things, examining things. So again, ask yourself some real questions. What are those facts? What am I assuming? What am I really feeling right now? Is this something that's urgent, or does it just feel like it is? What part of this, can you control? You got to ask yourself that. And what part of this that you can just release and let this go? And these are things that can help you to stop living by reaction and start living by decision.
That's a mouthful, and well said, Dr. Rose. And I would say also, do we lived do we live in fiction, or do we live
Mm,
in with the facts? Okay. Do
wow.
we want to be real,
Wow.
or do we want to be an imposter?
Mm,
So
wow.
keeping it real is part of, the release that gives you the power and gives you the energy.
Yeah.
So changing lives. If you want to change your life, you got to change your energy about things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because in a thriving, if you want a situation to thrive, you gotta name it, like Dr. Rose said, tackle it
Yeah.
and prepare a plan to conquer it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these are all experiences that shape our life,
Yeah.
that mold us into our best version if we let it. It's a
Yes.
choice. You know, lack of energy, lack of motivation, are depletion of energy, positivity, and just joy. And all of those things give you more energy. So, what are you feeding today?
Mm,
What do you want to feed? I know what I do. I want joy and I
yeah.
want positivity.
Yes.
I want more clarity and I want alignment. And I know that I could speak for, because we've talked about this many a times, Dr. Rose and I.
Yes.
So speak what you want and go get it.
Yes.
because that will bring energy to your life.
Yes.
And thriving means more energy boosting.
Yes.
So, with that said, this conversation I think was very powerful
Yes.
about recharging and finding more energy. And if there's something that's depleting it, identify it, name it, and get rid of it
Yes.
ASAP.
ASAP.
So if you like this content today, subscribe and share with others, share with everybody, because there's not one person that this message can't speak to, and changes are possible.
Yeah.
So please hit the bell notification. And again, we are always here. If you have any comments, all of our comments are reviewed, and Dr. Rose and I talk about those things. And Dr. Rose, with that said, can you just share for the last 30 seconds what initiative we're going to be embarking upon on the 18th of Balance to Lead? And it all ties in because balance also gives you energy. If you're out of balance, it depletes.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would absolutely say that at this particular time, um, you want to make sure that you join us on Thursday, June the 18th, and that's going to be at 7 o'clock p.m., Balance Delete. And we're going to actually have the link down in the description box so that you will be able to register, because you do have to register. And we'll be looking forward to you joining us for our Balance Delete initiative that kicks off on June the 18th. That will be a 30-minute free webinar, but you do have to register. So we look forward to seeing you then.
Thank you, Dr. Rose, again for joining me, for taking your time to inspire and just touch on some highlights that maybe are life coaching fuels and a call to change and action. So, with that said, I hope everybody has a great day, and we'll be back very soon. So, until next time, bye bye.
Bye bye.